brought to you by Bethel School of Technology. Learn more at betheltech.net/Ken Coleman. This is a Business Insider article with just some data here. The New York Fed just did a survey of consumer expectations, and they asked respondents to estimate if they lost their job today, what do you think your chances are that you could find a new job within the next 3 months? And the probability, the average of the respondents was, people said it was about a 50% chance, just slightly over 50% chance. So essentially, the data comes back that respondents viewed their ability to get a job within 3 months of being fired or laid off as a coin flip. This was the lowest mark since April of 2021. Now, if you think back to April 2021, I mean, we're essentially 12 months into the pandemic. And so we were in a really, really topsy-turvy outlook. It was a very different world, as you all will recall. So people's confidence in the midst of so much uncertainty is always going to be shaken. That's just normal. A very profound environment, very different environment than we stand today. So it's really interesting that the number has gotten worse. In other words, people's confidence in their ability to get a job within 3 months is shaken, and it's getting worse. Why? I've got a couple of reasons. The article points out a couple of things. I actually have my own reason that I think is worth learning from, and that's why I'm sharing this. First, what do we see in the data? There are two pieces of data that this Business Insider article points out that I think are worth looking at. One is remote jobs have shrunken, or shrunk. I don't know if the word's shrunken or not. What am I saying here? The amount of remote jobs has contracted back to pre-pandemic, so 2019 levels. We saw remote jobs spike in a big way during and after the pandemic, and now we're seeing all that contract. Companies are wanting people back in at least at a hybrid level. So what we're talking about when we talk about remote jobs and the number shrinking, we're talking about 100% all remote. That's what we're talking about. And we're seeing this, by the way, on LinkedIn. The amount of fully remote job openings is shrinking dramatically since April of 2022, when we begin to see companies going, all right, we've kind of done the all remote thing and we want to get to this hybrid model. And that's what you're seeing is the dominant reaction is to that. The other reason that is cited here is that white collar jobs that are well into the six figures and above, those jobs have shrunk as well. And this is a result. We began to see this in 2023. We began to see big businesses led by big tech trim their roles, the payroll. They just trimmed because they had this big boom in the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic. And now and from a corporate standpoint, and those of you who pay attention to the news, we are in this, what I call a confusing economy, right? We see inflation stubborn, up, down a little bit, but still way up from where it was. We see consumer confidence up and down. We see unemployment rate really, really low, but we're not seeing wages grow to the level they should grow. So you've got these confusing economic indicators and all these headlines about it, and what it does to people who hire, people who lay people off. They're taking a conservative approach. And so we saw big tech in 2023 lay off a lot of people. We saw a lot of public companies do this because they said we overhired. And what it has created is a wait and see attitude about well-paid white-collar workers. It has also created you know what, we're going to get efficient and we're going to combine some roles and we're not going to spend what we spent previously on mid to upper level executives. And so you're seeing that trickle down. But I think there's a bigger reason. I think when asked this question, and understand this is data, this is a polling thing, and they're saying, okay, if you were laid off today, what do you think your chances are? And so this is a hypothetical, but we can learn something from this. And I think this is what we learn. I think people have such a squeamish, weak stomach for doing what it takes to be layoff proof and fireproof. They don't develop relationships. They don't keep those connections going. They aren't actively making sure that they have an off-ramp. This goes to when we board an airplane, we get on an airplane, we're getting ready to take off, and the flight attendants stand up. Can we have your attention, please? You're going to walk through some basic instructions. We are not in any way expecting a water landing, but if we do, blah, 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 blah. If we see just depressurization in the cabin, pressurization, I can't even say it. If that happens, here's what you got to do. A mask will drop, you put it over your head, they start walking through all the things that if there were an emergency, be prepared. This is what you do. I don't think most Americans are in a position to even make it 3 months without a check, number one. Number two, I don't think most Americans are doing what it takes to have a strong network of people that you stay in touch with, that know your value, and not only know your value, believe in your value to the point that they would open up some doors for you and make some calls for you. So I think when presented with this polling question, I think people are looking at that and doing a quick inventory of what I just laid out, and they're going, I'm not prepared. And I don't think it'd be a very good sign at all. I think it'd be really bad. And I think it's the connection and the network and going, I've not done what it takes. I don't know who I'd call. I'd have to just get out and submit resumes. And now I'm out there fighting against the 8 billion other people that are submitting resumes. See, the game has changed. LinkedIn, online, AI, all the things make applying for jobs easier than it's ever been. However, it's also more crowded than it's ever been. Because think about it. Back in the day when you had to go meet somebody and you walked in and you handed them a resume, there weren't as many people doing that. You know why? Because it takes some frickin' effort. You know what takes hardly any effort at all? Uploading a resume. Sending your resume to 50 connections on LinkedIn takes mere seconds, minutes. It takes a lot more effort to show up, look sharp, talk to somebody, hand them your resume. So here's the point. If you want confidence to soar for yourself, that you're going to be okay no matter what comes your way, you need to be constantly connecting to people. When you are out of sight, I promise you, you are out of mind. And it is too late many times to become seen when you're in an emergency situation. In other words, if you get laid off, it is too late to start being seen when you only got 3 months or 2 months or 1 month worth of cash or maybe none at all. You are screwed. That's how you show up in the Uber. That's how you're doing all the other things you don't want to do. You know why? You didn't prepare. You had no off-ramp. You had no emergency action plan. You weren't doing what it takes to make sure that the mask would drop. People aren't doing what it takes to connect and build relationships, to dig the well early so that when you need the water, it's there. And that's what's going on, and that's why confidence is low. So what's the lesson? Buy the proximity principle. Read it. Make it a part of your everyday life. I'm always learning. I'm always connecting, and that gives me the opportunity to be doing a lot of different things. You have to make sure that you have an emergency plan in the form of a lot of connections that aren't, by the way, LinkedIn connections. I mean real life connections where you're hanging with people, talking to people. They know you, they value you, they will help you. That's how you win in this situation. Every time. It is connections that gets you where you need to go. This is the Ken Coleman Show. Launch your tech career today at betheltech.net/Ken Coleman.